Ryan Carter wasn't one to dwell on what could have been. At 35, he had learned to focus on what was on the here and now. His days were filled with fixing cars at a small-town garage. His nights spent tucking his 6-year-old son, Jake, into bed. Life hadn't been kind to Ryan since losing his wife, Claire, 2 years earlier to a sudden illness. But even through the grief, he found purpose in raising Jake and doing whatever it took to give him a stable life. Their home was modest, a 2-bedroom house tucked into the corner of Maple Ridge, a quiet town where everyone knew each other by name. The walls were adorned with Jake's colorful drawings, and the furniture was mismatched but functional. Money was tight, but Ryan didn't let it show. To Jake, their little house felt like a castle, and Ryan was its fearless protector. One bitterly cold winter afternoon, as Ryan walked Jake home from school, the air crackled with frost. Snow blanketed the ground, and icicles hung like jagged teeth from rooftops. They passed Willow Lake, a picturesque spot that froze over every winter, drawing curious children despite warning signs about thin ice. As they neared the edge of the lake, Ryan heard panicked screams cutting through the stillness. He stopped abruptly, scanning the area until his eyes landed on 2 figures struggling on the surface of the frozen water. Twin girls, no older than 7 or 8, clung to each other as the ice beneath them groaned and cracked ominously. Without hesitation, Ryan dropped Jake's hand. "Stay right here, buddy," he instructed firmly before sprinting toward the lake. The scene unfolded in slow motion. The twins, Emma and Sophie, were visibly terrified, their tiny hands clawing at the slippery surface as the ice began to give way. Bystanders shouted warnings, urging Ryan not to go out onto the unstable surface. But Ryan didn't listen. He grabbed a fallen tree branch lying nearby, using it to distribute his weight as he carefully crawled toward the girls. "Hold on," Ryan called out, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The temperature was brutal, biting at his skin, but he pushed forward, inch by agonizing inch. When he reached the twins, he extended the branch, coaxing them closer. "Grab hold." Sophie reached first, her small fingers trembling as she grasped the makeshift lifeline. Emma followed, clinging to her sister. With every ounce of strength he possessed, Ryan pulled them back onto thicker ice, dragging them inch by inch until they were safe on solid ground. Just moments later, the patch of ice where the twins had been collapsed with a deafening crack, sending shards spiraling into the frigid water below. Gasps erupted from the crowd gathered at the shoreline, many of whom rushed forward to help. Paramedics arrived shortly after, wrapping the hypothermic twins in thermal blankets and checking Ryan and Jake for injuries. "You saved them," one bystander said, awe etched across her face. "You're a hero." Ryan shook his head, brushing off the praise. "I just did what anyone would have done." But deep down, he knew it wasn't entirely true. Not everyone would have risked their life for strangers, not when the odds were so perilously stacked against them. Later that evening, as Ryan tucked Jake into bed, the boy looked up at him with wide, admiring eyes. "Daddy, were you scared today?" Ryan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Yeah, buddy, I was scared. But sometimes, being brave means doing something even when you're afraid." Jake nodded thoughtfully, snuggling deeper under the covers. "You're the bravest person I know." Ryan smiled faintly, ruffling his son's hair. "Get some sleep, champ. Tomorrow's another day." As he turned off the light, Ryan allowed himself a moment of reflection. The rescue had drained him physically and emotionally, but it also reminded him of why he kept pushing through the hardships. For Jake, for the chance to make a difference no matter how small. Little did Ryan know, his selfless act would ripple far beyond that frozen lake, setting into motion a chain of events that would change his family's life forever. The days following the rescue felt surreal for Ryan. Life returned to its usual rhythm, early mornings at the garage, late nights fixing up old appliances around the house, but whispers of his bravery lingered wherever he went. Neighbors greeted him with wide smiles, some patting him on the back or offering heartfelt thanks. Strangers stopped him in the grocery store to shake his hand, calling him a hero. Ryan accepted their praise graciously but dismissed it inwardly. To him, saving the twins wasn't extraordinary, it was instinctual. Anyone else would have done the same. Jake, however, saw things differently. His admiration for his father reached new heights, and he began peppering Ryan with questions about the rescue. "Why don't more people help each other like you did?" he asked one evening during dinner. Ryan chuckled softly, stirring the pot of soup on the stove. "I think most people want to help, buddy. They just get scared sometimes." "But you weren't scared?" Jake pressed, his brow furrowing. "Oh, I was scared," Ryan admitted, glancing over his shoulder. "But fear doesn't mean you stop doing what's right." Jake nodded solemnly, absorbing the lesson. Over the next few weeks, he became more observant of others, often pointing out opportunities to lend a hand, helping an elderly neighbor carry groceries, or sharing his snacks with classmates who forgot theirs. Ryan noticed the shift in his son's behavior and felt a swell of pride. Maybe, just maybe, his actions had planted a seed of kindness in Jake's young heart. Meanwhile, news of the rescue spread beyond Maple Ridge. A local journalist wrote an article titled, "Everyday Hero Saves Twin Girls from Frozen Lake," featuring quotes from eyewitnesses and photos of the scene. The story caught fire online, sparking comments from readers across the country. Some praised Ryan as a model citizen. Others criticized him for taking unnecessary risks. One commenter wrote, "What kind of parent lets their kid play near thin ice?" While another countered, "And what kind of person wouldn't save those girls if they could?" Despite the mixed reactions, Ryan tried to ignore the attention. He didn't log on to social media, and he avoided reading the comments section of the article. What mattered most to him was Jake's safety and well-being, not internet debates about his choices. Still, the twins' parents made several attempts to reach out. They sent handwritten notes thanking Ryan for his courage, left baskets of baked goods on his doorstep, and even invited him and Jake to dinner. Each time, Ryan politely declined, insisting he didn't need any further acknowledgement. "It's not about me," he told them firmly during one brief phone call. "I'm just glad your daughters are okay." The twins' mother, Mrs. Bennett, sounded close to tears. "We'll never forget what you did for our family, Mr. Carter. Please let us know if there's anything we can do for you." Ryan hesitated before responding. "Just take care of Emma and Sophie. That's all I ask." Though he meant every word, part of him couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. Days later, unfamiliar vehicles began driving slowly past his house. A sleek black sedan here, a polished SUV there. Neighbors commented on the unusual activity, speculating about who might be behind it. "Maybe it's reporters," one suggested. "Or filmmakers looking to make a movie about you." Ryan laughed it off, chalking it up to paranoia. But deep down, he wondered if the Bennetts were involved somehow. Whatever it was, he hoped it wouldn't disrupt the fragile balance he'd worked so hard to maintain. One afternoon, as Ryan tinkered under the hood of an old sedan at the garage, his boss, Hank, approached him with a knowing grin. "Heard you're quite the celebrity these days." Ryan groaned, wiping grease-streaked hands on a rag. "Don't remind me." Hank chuckled, leaning against the workbench. "Seriously, though, you deserve recognition for what you did. Folks around here haven't stopped talking about it." "It's no big deal," Ryan muttered, turning back to the engine. "Just doing my job." "Your job? Last I checked, risking your life to save 2 kids isn't exactly in the mechanic handbook." Hank paused, studying Ryan thoughtfully. "You know, sometimes good deeds come back around. Keep an open mind, all right?" Ryan shrugged, brushing off the comment. He'd learned long ago not to count on luck or miracles. Life had taught him that survival depended on grit, determination, and sheer willpower, not on fairy tale endings. That evening, as Ryan and Jake walked home from the corner store, they noticed a group of men unloading crates from a delivery truck parked outside their house. Curious, Ryan quickened his pace, only to find Mrs. Bennett standing on his porch, flanked by several assistants. Her expression was a mix of gratitude and nervousness. "Mr. Carter," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I hope you don't mind the intrusion. We wanted to, well, show our appreciation properly." Before Ryan could respond, The sound of engines filled the air. 10 luxury SUVs rolled up silently, parking along the curb in a neat line. Ryan stared in disbelief as drivers stepped out, opening the vehicle's trunks to reveal mountains of supplies. Groceries, clothing, furniture, and toys. The sight was overwhelming, almost dreamlike. "What is all this?" Ryan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Bennet stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "This is just the beginning of what we owe you. Please, let us repay your kindness in some small way." Ryan opened his mouth to protest, but the words caught in his throat. He glanced at Jake, whose eyes sparkled with wonder as he took in the scene. For the first time in years, Ryan allowed himself to consider the possibility that help might come. Not as charity, but as gratitude. The sight of the 10 gleaming luxury SUVs parked outside his modest home felt surreal, like something out of a movie. Ryan stood frozen on the sidewalk, Jake clutching his hand tightly as they watched drivers unload crate after crate filled with supplies. Mrs. Bennet stepped forward again, her expression earnest and apologetic. "Mr. Carter, please," she said softly. "We can't thank you enough for saving our daughters. This is just a small token of our gratitude." Ryan shook his head, still struggling to process what was happening. "Mrs. Bennet, this isn't necessary. I didn't do it for repayment. I just did what anyone would have done." Her eyes softened with emotion. "But not everyone would have risked their life the way you did. You gave us back our daughters, Mr. Carter. Our entire world. We'll never be able to repay that, but we want to try." As the crates were carried inside, Ryan caught glimpses of their contents. Fresh produce, pantry staples, warm winter coats, blankets, toys, and even furniture pieces destined for every corner of their home. Jake tugged excitedly at his sleeve, pointing toward a box labeled Toys near the doorway. "Dad, look, is that for us?" Ryan knelt beside him, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "Yeah, buddy, it looks like it." Jake's face lit up with pure joy, but Ryan couldn't shake the unease creeping into his chest. Accepting help had always been difficult for him. It felt too close to admitting defeat, to acknowledging that he couldn't provide everything his son needed on his own. Yet, looking at the overwhelming generosity before him, he realized this wasn't about charity. It was about connection, about people coming together to support one another in meaningful ways. As the deliveries continued, Mr. Whitaker, the twins' uncle and a prominent figure in the community, emerged from one of the SUVs. Dressed impeccably in a tailored coat, he approached Ryan with an air of quiet authority. Extending a gloved hand, he introduced himself warmly. "Mr. Carter, I'm Charles Whitaker, Emma and Sophie's uncle. On behalf of our entire family, I want to express our deepest gratitude for your incredible act of bravery." Ryan hesitated before shaking the man's hand, his grip firm but cautious. "Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, but really I don't need anything in return. Knowing the girls are safe is enough." Mr. Whitaker smiled knowingly, clearly expecting such a response. "That's exactly why we're here. People like you remind us of what truly matters: kindness, courage, and selflessness. And frankly, those qualities deserve recognition." He gestured toward the SUVs and the stream of items being brought inside. "This is only the beginning. We've arranged for some additional support to ensure your family has stability moving forward. Renovations to expand your home, educational funds for Jake, and a trust set aside for emergencies or future needs." Ryan blinked, stunned. I don't know what to say. That's far more than I ever expected or asked for." "It's not about expectation," Mr. Whitaker replied gently. "It's about honoring your actions and ensuring that someone as deserving as you doesn't have to shoulder burdens alone anymore." Tears welled in Ryan's eyes, though he quickly blinked them away. He glanced at Jake, who was now surrounded by neighbors marveling over the gifts, then back at Mr. Whitaker. "I don't know how to thank you. This changes everything, for both of us." "You already have," Mr. Whitaker said simply. "By saving my nieces, you've given our family a second chance. Let us do the same for yours." Overwhelmed by the magnitude of the gesture, Ryan invited the Whitakers and their team inside to warm up with coffee brewed on his ancient drip machine. As they sat around the cluttered kitchen table, conversation flowed easily between Ryan, Mr. Whitaker, and Mrs. Bennett. They spoke about the twins' recovery, Jake's bright personality, and plans for the renovations. Neighbors popped in periodically, offering congratulations and sharing stories of Ryan's kindness over the years. Jake wandered through the house, wide-eyed and amazed by the transformation already underway. Boxes of toys spilled across the living room floor, and new clothes hung neatly in his closet. For the first time in his young life, he understood what abundance looked like, and it filled him with a sense of security he'd never known. Later that evening, as the SUVs finally drove away and the house settled into quiet, Ryan sat on the couch with Jake nestled against him. The boy yawned sleepily, clutching a stuffed bear gifted by the Whitakers. "Dad, do you think miracles really happen?" Ryan smiled faintly, running a hand through Jake's hair. "Yeah, buddy. Sometimes they do. Just when you least expect them." The next morning, contractors arrived to begin renovating the house. Walls were knocked down to create larger living spaces, insulation was upgraded, and modern appliances replaced outdated ones. Ryan watched in awe as his once modest home transformed into something spacious and welcoming. Jake loved watching the workers, peppering them with questions and eagerly anticipating each new change. Amidst the whirlwind of activity, Ryan found himself reflecting on the deeper meaning of the miracle unfolding around him. It wasn't just about material wealth, it was about the connections forged through compassion and gratitude. The Whitakers weren't merely benefactors. They were allies, partners in building a brighter future for his family. And for the first time in years, Ryan allowed himself to dream, not just of survival but of thriving. One afternoon, as he helped Jake unpack a new desk delivered for his bedroom, Ryan paused to take in the scene. His son's face glowed with excitement, and the weight that had long rested on Ryan's shoulders seemed lighter somehow. Life hadn't been easy, but moments like these reminded him why he kept fighting. To give Jake a childhood full of wonder and possibility. Little did Ryan know, this was only the beginning. The generosity of the Whitakers would ripple outward, inspiring others in Maple Ridge to pay it forward and creating a chain reaction of kindness that touched countless lives, including their own. The weeks following the arrival of the luxury SUVs brought a whirlwind of changes for Ryan and Jake. Their once modest home was now a spacious, modern haven filled with warmth and comfort. The renovations had transformed every corner, from the expanded kitchen with its gleaming appliances to the cozy living room where Jake's toys no longer overflowed onto the floor. Neighbors often stopped by to admire the updates, marveling at how much brighter the house felt both inside and out. But as grateful as Ryan was, adjusting to his newfound prosperity wasn't easy. For years, he'd prided himself on being self-reliant, on providing for Jake through sheer determination and hard work. Accepting such generosity, even when it came from a place of gratitude, felt foreign, almost unsettling. He worried about losing sight of the values that had defined him: humility, resilience, and perseverance. One evening, as Ryan sat on the porch watching Jake play with Emma and Sophie in the backyard, Mr. Whitaker joined him, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. "How are you holding up?" he asked, handing one mug to Ryan. Ryan sighed, staring into the distance. "Honestly, it's overwhelming. I'm thankful. More than I can put into words. But part of me feels like I don't deserve all this." Mr. Whitaker nodded thoughtfully. "I understand why you'd feel that way. But let me ask you something. Do you think your wife would be proud of what you've done? Of how far you've come since her passing?" The question caught Ryan off guard, stirring emotions he'd buried deep inside. Claire had always believed in his strength, his ability to rise above adversity. She'd encouraged him to lean on others when needed, reminding him that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness but of wisdom. Ryan realized she'd have celebrated these changes, not because of the material wealth, but because they allowed him to focus on what truly mattered: being present for Jake. "You're right," Ryan admitted quietly. "She'd probably tell me to stop overthinking and just enjoy it." Mr. Whitaker smiled warmly. "Exactly. Life has a funny way of balancing things out. You gave us our girls back, Ryan. Let us give you some peace of mind in return. As the months passed, Ryan began to embrace the changes rather than resist them. He used the trust funds set up by the Whitakers to cover unexpected expenses and invest in Jake's education, ensuring his son would have opportunities he himself had never dreamed of. Jake thrived under the added support, excelling in school and developing hobbies like painting and robotics thanks to classes funded by the family's generosity. The bond between Ryan, Jake, and the Whitakers grew stronger with each passing week. Weekend visits became a cherished tradition, with Emma and Sophie eagerly anticipating sleepovers at Ryan's house. They adored Jake, treating him like an older brother, while Ryan found himself forming a close friendship with Mrs. Bennett. She often confided in him about her guilt over the lake incident, expressing gratitude for his role in healing their fractured family. "You saved more than just my daughters that day," she told him during one heartfelt conversation. "You reminded us of what's important, to cherish the people we love and never take them for granted." Ryan nodded, touched by her words. "I think we all needed saving in some way. Maybe that's why it happened." The ripple effect of the rescue extended beyond Ryan's immediate circle. Inspired by his selflessness, the Whitakers launched a community initiative called Second Chances, aimed at supporting struggling families in Maple Ridge. Ryan played an active role in its development, sharing his story and advocating for programs that provided financial assistance, mentorship, and resources to those in need. Jake, too, embraced the spirit of giving back. At just 6 years old, he became the youngest volunteer at a local shelter, helping serve meals alongside his father. His enthusiasm was infectious, inspiring other children in the neighborhood to join in. Together, they organized fundraisers, toy drives, and cleanup efforts, proving that even small acts of kindness could create big waves of change. One snowy afternoon, as Ryan and Jake shoveled sidewalks for elderly neighbors, Jake paused to look up at his dad. "Do you think Mom would be happy with us?" Ryan knelt beside him, brushing snowflakes from his cheeks. "I think she'd be incredibly proud, buddy. We're doing exactly what she always wanted. To make the world a little brighter, one person at a time." Despite the abundance surrounding them, Ryan never lost sight of the lessons he'd learned during his hardest days. He continued working at the garage, refusing to give up the job that had sustained them for so long. To him, it wasn't just about earning a paycheck. It was about staying grounded, about remembering where they'd come from and how far they'd traveled together. Hank noticed the shift in Ryan's demeanor, commenting on it one morning as they worked side by side. "You seem different lately," he said, tightening a bolt beneath the hood of a car. "Lighter, somehow." Ryan chuckled, wiping grease-streaked hands on a rag. "Maybe I am. Life's thrown a lot at us, but somehow we keep finding our footing. Guess it helps having good people around." Hank nodded approvingly. "That's the thing about kindness. It comes back around. And judging by everything that's happened, you've earned every bit of it." By spring, the renovations were complete, and the Carter household buzzed with renewed energy. Jake hosted his first birthday party in the newly finished backyard, inviting classmates, neighbors, and, of course, Emma and Sophie. Laughter echoed through the air as kids chased bubbles and devoured cake, while adults exchanged stories around picnic tables laden with food. As Ryan stood back, observing the joy unfolding before him, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for the gifts they'd received, but for the connections they'd forged along the way. The miracle hadn't been about money or possessions. It had been about bringing people together, creating bonds that transcended circumstance and status. Later that night, as Jake drifted off to sleep clutching a new action figure gifted by the twins, Ryan tucked him in gently. "Love you, champ," he whispered, kissing his forehead. "Love you too, Dad," Jake murmured sleepily. "Thanks for making everything better." Ryan smiled, lingering in the doorway for a moment before turning off the light. Better wasn't quite the word he'd use. They still had challenges ahead, moments of doubt and uncertainty, but they also had hope, love, and a community ready to lift them up whenever they stumbled. For Ryan, that was enough. More than enough. Years passed, and the ripple effects of Ryan's actions continued to shape lives. not just his own, but countless others across Maple Ridge. What had started as a single act of bravery on a frozen lake had blossomed into something far greater. A movement of compassion, unity, and hope. For Ryan, the journey was proof that even in the darkest moments, light could emerge and spread farther than anyone imagined. The bond between Ryan, Jake, and the Whitaker family only deepened with time. Emma and Sophie grew into confident teenagers, excelling in academics and extracurricular activities while cherishing their second family in Ryan and Jake. They often credited Ryan not only with saving their lives but also with teaching them the value of empathy and courage. "You're the reason we're here," Sophie once told him during a quiet moment at dinner. "And we'll never forget that." Ryan shook his head, humbled by her words. "I didn't do anything special, sweetheart. Just what anyone would have done." "But you did," Emma countered firmly. "Not everyone has the strength to put themselves in danger for strangers. You showed us what real heroism looks like." Her sincerity brought tears to his eyes, though he quickly blinked them away. In moments like these, Ryan realized the true gift wasn't the material wealth they'd received. It was the relationships they'd built, the memories they created, and the lessons they'd shared. Jake, now 13, had grown into a remarkable young man. Inspired by his father's selflessness, he became a leader among his peers, organizing volunteer projects and mentoring younger kids in the community. His passion for helping others earned him recognition at school and beyond. But Jake remained humble, always crediting Ryan for setting an example he couldn't help but follow. One crisp autumn afternoon, as father and son worked side by side building a new playground for the local park, Jake paused to glance up at Ryan. "Do you think people will remember what we've done? Like, years from now?" Ryan smiled, tightening a bolt on the swing set frame. "Probably not, and that's okay. It's not about being remembered, buddy. It's about making a difference right now, for the people who need it most." Jake nodded thoughtfully, returning to his task. "Still, I hope someone tells your story someday, so other people know how much one person can change the world." Ryan chuckled softly, ruffling his son's hair. "Well, if they do, I'll make sure they mention you too. You're half the reason this place is coming together." As they finished assembling the swings, neighbors gathered to celebrate the grand opening of the playground. Children laughed and played under the golden sunlight, their joy a testament to the power of collective effort. Ryan stood back, watching silently as Jake joined in the fun, his face alight with pride and happiness. In that moment, Ryan understood something profound. The miracle hadn't ended with the arrival of those luxury SUVs. It lived on in every life touched by kindness, in every connection forged through shared struggles and triumphs. The lake where it all began might have frozen over again each winter, but its memory remained, a symbol of renewal, resilience, and redemption. To honor the spirit of giving that had transformed their lives, Ryan established the Claire Carter Foundation, named after his late wife. The organization focused on supporting struggling families, providing everything from financial assistance to mentorship programs. With backing from the Whitakers and other donors, the foundation quickly gained momentum, reaching communities far beyond Maple Ridge. At the inaugural gala, held in a beautifully renovated community center, Ryan delivered a heartfelt speech that moved many to tears. "When I pulled Emma and Sophie from that frozen lake, I didn't think about rewards or recognition," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I acted because it was the right thing to do. But what happened afterward, what continues to happen, is bigger than me. It's proof that when we come together, we can create miracles." He paused, glancing at Jake, who sat proudly beside him, then at Mrs. Bennett and Mr. Whitaker, whose smiles reflected the depth of their gratitude. "This foundation isn't mine, it's ours. A reminder that no matter how tough things get, there's always hope, always someone willing to lend a hand, to offer a second chance." Applause erupted throughout the room, echoing long after Ryan stepped down from the podium. As guests mingled and celebrated, stories of resilience and generosity flowed freely, inspiring everyone present to carry the torch forward. On the anniversary of the rescue, the entire blended family returned to Willow Lake, now transformed into a safe recreational area thanks to funding from the Whitakers. A plaque near the shore commemorated the event, reading, "In memory of courage and compassion, may this place inspire acts of kindness for generations to come." As twilight descended, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Ryan, Jake, Emma, Sophie, and the Whitakers released paper lanterns onto the water. Each lantern carried a message of gratitude, hope, or reflection, illuminating the surface like stars scattered across the lake. Standing shoulder to shoulder, Ryan felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy. He knew that better than anyone, but surrounded by the people he loved, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay in store. "Forever and always," Jake whispered, echoing the toast they'd shared years earlier. "Forever and always," Ryan replied, wrapping an arm around his son. As the lanterns drifted farther out, their light fading into the night, Ryan realized the truth. Miracles weren't fleeting moments. They were ongoing journeys, fueled by love, sacrifice, and the unshakable belief that humanity could rise above adversity. And so, with hearts full of gratitude and dreams of brighter tomorrows, they walked away from the lake together, ready to embrace whatever the future held.